Hey folks, this is Kalani. We're going to be looking at the Grand Magistrix Elisande encounter on Mythic difficulty. For this video I'm going to assume you're familiar with the fight on Heroic. If not, there should be a link down below for you to go view that one first. This fight is basically Heroic mode but on steroids. There's two new abilities which come from the two arcane elementals and a few changes to some other abilities. The recursive elemental can now cast Recursion, which resets the duration of all player debuffs. The main one we care about is the tank debuffs, and resets the duration of Elisande's Delphuric Beam ability. Recursion isn't super important during the first and third phase, but should be interrupted as much as possible anyway. During the second phase, Recursion has to be interrupted, especially while Elisande has the Delphuric Beam buff. The Expedient elemental can now cast Expedite, which increases the rate of which player debuffs expire. This one is super important for the tank debuffs and for Conflexive Burst in the last phase and should be interrupted almost every cast. The Kinetic Rings in phase 1 will also now travel through Elisande instead of stopping, meaning you have to dodge twice for every round of rings. Delphuric Beams in phase 2 will also continue past their target, so you can't stand behind beam targets anymore. For this fight we took 2 tanks, 3 healers and 15 DPS. At the start of the fight you want your entire raid stacked on the wall and have someone with long range pull. This ensures the first spanning singularity will be placed right on top of you, so it can't ever get in the way. For every spanning singularity cast after the first, you will want your ranged and healers to move to the outside edge of the room, so the singularity is once again placed out of the way of your raid. You can't really afford to have singularities where you want to be moving, as stepping in them deals a ton of damage. We always use Lust at the start of phase 1 because we want to get through it as quickly as possible. Our Kinetic Rings are the most problematic ability in this fight because now you have to dodge twice per ring, and every ring you get in phase 1 will be a ring that spawns in phase 2 and 3. Ideally you want to push Elisande into phase 2 before the 5th ring spawns. We decided to 3 heal so we could reliably push her before the 4th ring spawns, meaning we only had 3 sets of rings to deal with in the later phases. Shortly after the pull, you'll have your first set of adds, 1 blue and 1 pink. We nuked the pink add to get the fast time buff quickly and made sure our blue add died right as the Kinetic Rings started to appear. Timing the blue sphere like this allows it to slow down 3 sets of rings instead of just 2, so you can shift less DPS to the second blue add and save time moving. If you can't push Elisande before the 4th set of rings, you will need to kill the second blue add and move over to its sphere for the 4th Kinetic Rings. Throughout phase 1, make sure your melee are interrupting the pink adds whenever they try to cast Expedite. Any other interrupts are useful in this phase, but not 100% required. Whenever you transition into the next phase, you will always get a singularity first. This singularity is special in that it will spawn on the closest target to Elisande. You want either your entire raid to be on the wall, like at the start of phase 1, or have one person be right next to the well so you can control where the puddle spawns. It's worth noting that the spawn locations of the first blue adds in phase 1 are echoed into the other phases, so you should always know where the first blue add will spawn and drop the first singularity away from that location. Going into phase 2, you want to do the exact same thing, nuke down the pink add and make sure the blue add dies right as the rings spawn. When dealing with the rings you basically need to repeat exactly what you did in phase 1. If you get 3 rings you only need 1 blue add in all the other phases, but if you've got 4 rings or more, you'll need to deal with all of them again. This is the phase where the blue add's new cast Recursion becomes super important. You should have your ranged interrupt the Recursion cast as much as possible, especially while Elisande is using Delphuric Beams. If Recursion doesn't get interrupted, Elisande will keep using the beams, causing huge problems for your healers, and every beam that you get in phase 2, you'll also get in phase 3, so make sure you interrupt the blue adds. The pink adds should still get interrupted as well, otherwise you could cause the tank debuffs to explode before they manage to get out of the group. Besides the beams, the other ability you need to deal with is Hypocheric Orbs. The goal here is to push phase 3 before the 3rd set, so you only have to deal with 2 orb soaks in phase 3, which isn't too difficult. The first set of orbs goes out quite early in the phase and are easy to deal with. The orbs will leave a debuff on the target they hit to make it difficult to soak the next set of orbs, so you will need your second round of soakers to either have an invulnerability or just have a different player soak. Mages and hunters are excellent candidates for soaking 2 orbs in a row. The second orbs are much more difficult to deal with as you get Kinetic Rings just before them and a spanning singularity at the same time. As this phase is going to last a bit longer, you should also take out the extra blue adds that spawn. We found it much easier to kill them and have the phase last a little bit longer than have the healers deal with all the extra damage from the burst casts. The third phase should play out exactly like the second, dealing with all the Kinetic Rings, Delphuric Beams and Epokeric Orbs as they happen in the second phase, except you also have Conflexive Burst added into the mix. You can handle these in the exact same way as Heroic, but they also deal fall-off damage, so the targets should move away from the raid as their debuff is going to expire. You can actually use Expedite to your advantage here. If the Conflexive Bursts are out of the raid, you can let one Expedite cast go off, which will cause the bursts to expire very quickly, so you can get them over with all at once. The Blue Ad's Recursion casts will also reset the duration of the Torment debuff in this phase, so make sure interrupts are going out whenever possible, and I'd recommend killing as many Blue Ads as your damage allows. If you can get through the first and second phase in a decent amount of time, the third phase becomes very easy after the rings and orbs have passed. You only have the Conflexive Burst to deal with, so it becomes a simple race against her Enrage timer. So, that should be all you need to take down Grand Magistrix Elisande on Mythic difficulty. If you have any questions or queries, please leave them in the comments section below and I'll get back to you as soon as possible. Or hop on over to Discord. We have a server at discord.gg/Kalani, great place to come ask questions or just hang out. Remember to leave a like just below the video before you leave, and if you want to see more, make sure to subscribe. But apart from that, thanks for watching folks, good luck and have fun, and as always I will see you next time.